morning, everyone, and welcome to Fox 29 News Now. Thanks for joining us today. Last night in Wissinoming, a hardworking innocent bystander was killed on the job by gunfire. This morning, our Sabina Kuriakos was at the scene with the latest.
Friends of 56-year-old Mike Gleba say he owned the auto body shop here for more than 30 years, and this is where he sadly died yesterday afternoon, the victim of several stray bullets, according to police. It was 3:15 yesterday when Gleba was working on a vehicle outside of Northeast Speedometer Service. Police say that a drug dispute erupted into gunfire just down the street from where Gleba was standing. At least 15 shots fired by a group of men. Several of those bullets struck Gleba. His employees came out of the building, tried to help him. Responding officers put him into a patrol cruiser and took him to Frankfurt Torsdale Hospital. Unfortunately, though, he was pronounced dead at the hospital. Many here in the neighborhood knew Gleba. They describe a kind and loving neighbor who was more than willing to help them out when they were in need.
Mike looked out for my family when I lost my father. My mom didn't have the money to get a truck fixed. Mike looked out for us, took care of my mom, fixed our truck for us, didn't expect nothing back. He was a great guy, and it's sick that somebody like him had to lose a life over something so petty. It's sick. Stop. Put down the guns and leave. Do whatever you gotta do, but just you're hurting innocent people for no reason.
And police are looking at surveillance video right now. They say that according to the video, it shows that at least one of the men involved in the shooting that left Gleba dead apparently was also shot in the arm, but they have been checking local hospitals and have not found that suspect. Gleba is survived by 3 adult children. His family lives in the neighborhood. They have for many generations, and his friends say they will mourn him for as long as they live. We are in Northeast Philadelphia in the Wissinoming section of the city. Sabina Kuriakos, Fox 29 News.
Thank you, Sabina. The fallout continues this morning after the arrest of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. After spending years holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, he woke up this morning in jail. As Fox News correspondent Douglas Zaner pointed out from Washington, his next stop may well be the United States, where charges could start piling up.
Fallout this morning for the arrest of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. After spending years held up in the Ecuadorian embassy, at least 7 years, he woke up this morning once again in jail.
And now a lot of people are wondering, could his next stop be the United States, where the charges could start piling up? So, Doug, I think a lot of people, too, yesterday, the big thing was, wow, look at him and look how he looks different. And we saw that video of him literally being pulled out of the embassy.
Very defiant as well.
Yeah, he didn't go quietly, that's for sure. You know, he's one of those kind of odd figures in life, right, that has both defenders and critics on both sides of the aisle. And he could be spending a fair amount of time in prison.
Free the truth, free Assange! Don't shoot the messenger!
About 30 protesters in Australia defend Julian Assange, saying he shouldn't be extradited to the United States after being arrested and dragged out of the Ecuadorian embassy in London yesterday. But that is what now seems likely, with Assange facing U.S. charges now for working with former Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning and leaking U.S. military secrets. And that may be just the start.
Don't be surprised if he gets extradited to the U.S. under the treaty we have with him, that additional charges don't come out related to the DNC and the Hillary Clinton hacking that he also was involved in.
And the Assange case does raise real questions about how far whistleblowers can go before they can be charged.
This precedent means that any journalist can be extradited for prosecution in the United States for having published truthful information about the United States.
But ask former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, whose campaign was hit hard by WikiLeaks, and their perspective changes.
It's not about punishing journalism. It's about assisting the hacking of the military computer to steal information from the United States government.
I know nothing about WikiLeaks. It's not my thing.
And President Trump wouldn't say much about the arrest, but during the 2016 campaign, he cheered on Assange's efforts.
WikiLeaks is amazing.
WikiLeaks! I love WikiLeaks.
Well, for now, Assange remains in UK custody, and there is a debate playing out there in the UK as to whether he should actually be extradited to the United States.
A lot of debate right now. I found it very interesting that his attorney classified him, first of all, as a journalist.
Right.
Second of all, what changed here yesterday? He was held up for nearly 7 years in that embassy. What gave?
Yeah, what changed specifically was the government of Ecuador. There was a change in power there, and they were kind of losing patience with Assange, and ultimately worked out this deal with the UK to turn him over.
Yeah, it sounds like he overstayed his welcome. Basically, they're saying his behavior, some of the antics,
Yeah.
they were done with it.
Look, you know, he's a house guest that stayed too long, and he was there for years and years.
See what the next steps are. All right, Doug, thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
7:14.
Everyone is riding the Game of Thrones wave, including businesses. How the show has inspired new dishes, drinks, and deals.
But that's coming up. All right, let's see what Homer and Bart are up to.
They're going to Disney?
Homer Simpson here, proud addition to the Disney family and soon appearing on Disney+. I, for one, salute our new corporate overlords. Now, family, put on the mouse ears. You only get one chance to make a first impression.
I don't wanna, I'm not gonna, you can't make me.
Put on the ears, boy.
It took a little forcing, Tracy, but Homer finally got them to put the ears on. So the Simpsons are now with Disney?
Yes, that's right. The Simpsons will exclusively be streaming on Disney+. That was the big announcement yesterday from Disney. All of the details surrounding their new streaming service, which will be released on November 12th. It'll be $6.99 a month, an annual option for $69.99 a month. Disney Plus is going to have all of Disney's intellectual property, all of the classic movies like Snow White, Lion King, and then all of the other content from Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars, and then a lot of the other properties from 21st Century Fox, like The Simpsons and also National Geographic. So as you can see, really a family-friendly streaming service. So you're only going to be able to get The Simpsons on Disney+. So that's kind of what analysts are banking on. They're banking on the huge library that Disney has, also the brand recognition, that's going to really boost this streaming service as the field of streaming services now is very crowded.
And it'll give people more incentive because you have stuff for the kids and then Simpsons a little bit for the older crowd.
But
so
it's
they'll have
such
something
a
as well.
staple, though, here on Fox.
I
They're going
know.
to pack up and move away. Wow. Oh, well, the end of an era.
So long. Did you see the balloons in the cartoon? They
Yeah,
had
with
them
the tape over
covered up
Fox.
with tape. They're rid of us. Let's talk Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, yes, that is this weekend. Game of Thrones premiering on Sunday, a big night. HBO, of course, everyone waiting for that premiere. There are a lot of themed menu items available if you're going to be watching the Game of Thrones. Buffalo Wild Wings, they've got a new Wild Wing out just for the premiere. It's got a spicy soy glaze. Also, it's made with ghost peppers and it's topped with jalapenos. So very spicy there. And then there's also, you can wash it down with a Game of Thrones inspired wine. How about that?
Oh.
HBO has teamed up with Vintage Estate Wines to come up with a Chardonnay, a Cabernet Sauvignon, a Pinot Noir, and a red blend. So you can kind of pair up the blends of wine with maybe a character or a location from the show.
This is big business for bars and restaurants.
It is.
Game of Thrones.
Oreo, they've got cookies out. Lots of other companies jumping on the bandwagon.
I think Shake Shack,
riding
too.
the coattails.
They have like a secret
Shake
menu.
Shack.
So a
Yep,
lot
here
of-
in New York City, that one of the Shake Shacks has a secret menu. If you order in the language that they speak on Game of Thrones, then that's how you can get the secret items.
Tracy, do you watch Game of Thrones?
I do not, but you know what? I will still participate in a Game of Thrones themed menu.
Right.
That sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me, too. Let's learn the language so we can get that
I
secret
know.
menu down.
We need
Exactly.
to watch. All right, thanks, Tracy.
7:27.
The remains of three Marines killed by a roadside bomb in Afghanistan are now back in the United States. This morning they arrived at Dover Air Force Base. 43-year-old Staff Sergeant Christopher Slupman of Newark, Delaware, 31-year-old Benjamin Hines of York, Pennsylvania, and 25-year-old Corporal Robert Hendricks of Locust Valley, New York lost their lives Monday. The Taliban has claimed responsibility for the attack. 7 Americans have been killed so far this year in Afghanistan. The Pentagon's ban on transgender people in the military starts today. It's been 2 years since President Trump made the announcement. Medical surgeries will no longer be allowed for gender transitioning unless they are already in the process of medical treatment. And transgender people who have already received surgery or hormones will no longer be allowed to join the military. A Philadelphia police officer is in the hospital this morning after a car crash late last night. The police SUV was involved in a head-on collision with a Toyota Camry. The crash happened just after 11:30 last night at the intersection of Haverford and Woodbine Avenues in Overbrook Park. At this time, it is unclear what caused the crash, but the officer was rushed to Lankenau Hospital with severe leg pain. The driver of the Camry, a 24-year-old woman, was not seriously hurt. Philadelphia police are now investigating a violent and disturbing mystery. A woman was brutally attacked and left to die in an alley in Kensington. Police found her on the 3300 block of I Street with severe injuries. This morning, she is in critical condition at Temple Hospital.
It's ridiculous how the city of Philadelphia is getting, you know. I mean, you're not safe anywhere.
As you can see, that's why I have a lot of security, just in case, because you never know what could happen.
Police have not yet released the woman's identity as they continue to search for her attacker. The City of Chicago is following through on a threat to sue Jussie Smollett for the cost of the investigation of the alleged racist and homophobic attack on Smollett. They're now suing for more than $400,000. They say he made the incident up as a publicity stunt. Last month, Chicago prosecutors dropped criminal charges, and Mayor Rahm Emanuel called that decision a, quote, whitewash of justice. Happening today, sentencing for a homeless veteran who confessed to working with a New Jersey couple to raise more than $400,000 in a phony GoFundMe campaign. Prosecutors say Johnny Bobbitt, Caitlin McClure, and her boyfriend Mark D'Amico made up the fake story in 2017 that deceived more than 14,000 GoFundMe donors. Bobbitt pleaded guilty last month while conspiring to commit theft by deception.
Service.
A young woman killed just weeks before her college graduation will still get her degree. The University of South Carolina will award a posthumous degree to Samantha Josephson. She was from Robbinsville, New Jersey. Police say she was murdered after getting into the wrong car when she called an Uber. Her parents plan to attend the graduation ceremony in May. In the wake of Josephson's death, the South Carolina House passed a bill to require rideshare vehicles to display illuminated signs. Alexa is seemingly always listening, and according to a new report, there are humans listening too. A tech expert will weigh in on how you can protect yourself.
Well, Amazon is admitting that workers, they're listening to conversations that you're having next to your Alexa.
But now customers are starting to question if more devices are doing the same. Let's bring in our tech expert, Anthony Mongaluzzo, joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So we always knew that somehow Alexa was listening to us, but we didn't actually know that individuals, human beings, were listening as well.
I'm going to say 100%, though. I think we all had to know. Where are they getting the artificial intelligence from? How is it learning?
People weren't thinking that far.
And it was creepy. I remember we were one of the beta users, my household, of Alexa and the Echo, and I told my wife she wanted to get it to listen to music in the kitchen and do all that stuff. I'm like, this thing's creepy. It's listening to us. Back in the day before this, when the smart TVs came out, if you read the manual, they said they could be listening to you. The whole world is listening to us.
Manual?
Why do that? Why do that? What a waste.
So basically anything, though, that it can respond to you, it means it's listening 90% of the time?
Well, even more than just listening, it records the history, so it transcribes. So I'm going to show you that on the phone today, and I got something a little creepy from here. I just noticed it sitting over there.
What?
I plugged the device in here, and at 6:50, it wasn't connected. It tried to record my voice. It shows in my history. So we'll show you that. We'll show you that.
Okay, because there's a way, when you're talking about showing us, that we can opt out of this.
Yes.
So where it won't be recording us.
Yes, and I'll show you that right now on how to opt out. Now, the one thing that scares me about this, though, with these big tech companies, Google, they said they weren't tracking your location. You shut it off, and guess what? They found out they still were. So this is going to opt out, but you never know if they ever have a software glitch. And, oh, sorry, we were hearing you.
Because they're not going to change. They're going to continue listening to us.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
up to us now, and you're going to show us how to change that.
So you open up your Alexa app, and then you go into Alexa account. Then there's a button right here at the bottom that says Alexa Privacy. We click on that. Now, manage how your data improves Alexa. Isn't that nice how it's marketed to you? Hey, we're not spying on you. So now you click on that button. Help develop new features. So you are a helper.
It's all about the spin, isn't it?
Yeah. So now, obviously, you just turn that thing off right there. Guess what? It didn't even like it. Look at that. The app crashed when I tried to turn it off.
Well, that's not
How
good.
funny is that?
Oh,
but either way,
so
in that screen, you hit that button, and then you hit the other button right at the bottom.
Okay.
We're going to go back into something else, though, here. So we go into our settings. We go back into Alexa account. Here's the history. Now, I don't mind sharing this with you. This is my stuff, but look at that, 6:49 a.m. It could not, text not available. Click to play recording. How was it recording me when it wasn't connected to the Wi-Fi network here yet at the studio?
Wow.
And you
so
can
even though you weren't connected, it's still recorded. So once you are connected, that information will be sent over possibly.
Exactly.
And we can see the things you were saying yesterday. Alexa stop, Alexa set timer. I want to read all of it.
Can we just say,
Can
we just say Alexa, stop listening to me?
And guess what? It'll record that for you.
So what do they say they're doing? They say that they need to hear us so that way they can help Alexa to respond?
Exactly. It helps with new slang and new words, and it's constantly improving the artificial intelligence. But here's my point. Amazon is one of the world's largest companies. Why do you need to come into my house and spy on me? Don't you have enough employees that are on the clock working that they could just do it right there?
So once we block this, once we do the privacy setting, I mean, they can still obtain some data from us, correct?
Yeah, there's always a way to get data. I mean, it's still, even if you block the privacy, that's just saying they won't share it with their workers, but it still lives in the cloud. It still lives in their server. And the one thing you have to remember about the internet, if you could get to the internet, they could get to the internet. And in this case, it's on their databases.
And it seems like when it comes to the internet, you can never really make anything go away.
It never goes away.
This is only Amazon, right? We don't know if Siri's doing this.
It's come out that Siri has human beings also listening, Google Home.
And where are these human beings? Are they in Seattle?
Siri, are you listening to
the
me?
Amazon people are in a weird, decrepit building with no Amazon signs where they come out of here. So they're everywhere.
But where? Do we know the location?
All around the world, actually.
So
it's
several?
international.
Yes. Oh, wow.
Okay, she responded like a minute later. She said she is listening. Are you spying on me?
I understand.
Are you spying on me, Siri?
I like you call her Siri.
Is it Siri?
I don't
Siri,
know. I disabled
Siri,
mine,
are you
but
spying
Siri.
on me?
I say Siri.
No.
Siri.
She says no.
She says no.
All right, so we'll have to believe
I don't know about that.
Anthony,
Well, thank you.
We're going to put all that information on Fox 29.
Yeah, to
There's
make
a lot of
sure. Because I
information
can't
to
believe
get
it crashed on you, so hopefully for other people
Yeah, that
it
was
won't crash.
pretty well timed and kind of
Which
creepy
is
all
kind
the
of
same
scary if
way.
it crashes on the tech expert.
Yeah,
So,
literally tried to shut it off and it said, guess what? You're not shutting me off.
Step by step, fox29.com. Always good to see you, Anthony.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you.
A new study says there is a connection between happiness and actually smiling. Dr. Mike stopped by this morning to explain further.
7:56. Smiling isn't just contagious to others. You say if you smile, it makes other people want to smile. It may even brighten up your own day.
There's a new study says there is actually a connection. And who doesn't want to feel happier on a Friday, right? Especially when this guy joins us, Dr. Mike.
So we're bringing in this one. And since this is about smiling and how it's going to make you happier, we decided, Dr. Mike, that Thomas and I, we're going to smile the entire time you're talking about this segment. It's going to be like 2 minutes. We have a clock I think we're going to put on to see how long we can keep this smile up. Okay, go ahead.
Well, most people vomit when they hear me, but that's another story. So the bottom line, folks, is that this study found that if you smile, it actually can elevate your mood. It's like the power of positive thinking. So look, do you feel happier? Not really.
A little
your
tight.
pain in your jaw. That's what you The bottom line, folks, though, is it's all about trying to get those negative feelings out of you and making, even if you have to pretend to be happy. And if you smile like that, then you will actually have an improvement. Now, you're not going to have, you can't stop your antidepressants if you're depressed, but it will definitely, and the studies show, it actually helps.
And boy, it hurts a little.
Let's get a little dry.
You know, you have the very attractive molars. I haven't seen them for a while.
Well, thank
I
you.
mean,
Are you a
have very
dentist
nice
now?
teeth. Yeah.
Thank you.
Your enamel just glistens.
Can you tell that to my dentist?
Your teeth says a lot about your health.
Oh, absolutely. You have bad teeth, you have bad health. No question
How
about
many
it.
times a day do you think you smile?
Oh, I smile all the time because if not, I would cry hysterically. So I have to have a positive attitude, especially when I'm dealing with sick people because they're not really happy. And you have to have a positive attitude. And if you, it's contagious.
It is.
You know what? I deal with people that have toxic personalities. You don't want to be with people like that.
the whole day.
You want to be happy and
How long
positive.
is this segment?
I don't think I'll be able to smile again after this. Sorry, should we end it? We did a minute 30.
Is this good?
All right.
All right. Whew.
Much better. Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, so let's go to the next topic. When it comes to stress and your health,
right?
Cardiovascular health.
Yes. Well, this was a huge study out of Sweden, and it found that if someone went through post-traumatic stress disorder, they had a terrible event happen, either combat, someone was raped, something like that, or even a divorce, that could lead to serious cardiovascular problems. Now, we've known about this in the past. A couple of studies I brought up in the past, including the SAD Heart trial, which looked at people who were depressed after having a heart attack, and they had an increased risk of having another one. So when you are sad, when you've undergone a traumatic, stressful event, it can increase your risk of congestive heart failure, stroke, heart attack, and something known as Takotsubo's cardiomyopathy.
How do we combat that, though? I mean, what do we need to do as a doctor? How do you advise getting over such a traumatic experience? Because it's not easy.
Right. You need help. You need to get counseling. You need talk therapy. Sometimes you need medication. And what that does is it gets you treated right away, early on, before you have a cardiac event. This can go on 6 months to a year after that event. I have even seen, listen to this, cancer. Stress has a very negative impact, especially traumatic stress can have significant effects, even like pancreatic cancer. I've seen it in my own practice. Folks, if you're out there and you have PTSD, get help.
Helps to talk about it, certainly, especially with your doctor. That's the first step.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr.
Right
Mike.
here, Doc.
Oh, come here.
Thank you.
Aww.
Always makes my day better.
it.
It's a little awkward. We're in the exam room together.
Yeah.
And then I get that forehead kiss.
Makes it a little softer after. Thank you so much, Dr. Mike.
Love you both.
And I don't think I'll be able to smile for the rest of the show, so let's continue with the 8 o'clock hour.
Thank you, Dr. Mike. In Burlington County, police want to talk to the two men seen in this photo. Do you recognize their SUVs? Investigators think they may know something about a wildfire at Penn State Forest in Washington and Woodland Townships. That fire burned on March 30th and consumed more than 11,000 acres of forest. In Camden County, we're learning more about why the Camden School District is planning to shut down and lay off hundreds of workers. Shut down schools and lay off hundreds of workers. In the fall, RT Cream Elementary School will become an early childhood center, and 500 students will be moved when Veterans Memorial Family School is closed. In a statement, the district calls the moves necessary to close a $27 million budget gap. But some in the community, including teachers, aren't happy about it.
All these folks are human beings. They're professionals. They have households to support, families to feed, and that's been taken away from them because of bad politics and shady doings.
The district claims the cost-cutting moves will actually benefit students, saying the kids at Cream Elementary will be moved to, quote, higher-performing schools. The district is run by the state of New Jersey, so the budget has not yet been finalized. Autism rates are rising, and new data is showing just how common it is. But what about adults? This morning, Alex and Thomas introduced us to a woman who went years without the diagnosis and didn't find out she was on the spectrum until after she had kids.
Coming up on 8:17, coinciding with Autism Awareness Month, a new CDC study puts the national autism rate at 1 in 59 children.
New Jersey's numbers, by the way, they were the highest, 1 in 35, and the average age of diagnosis, 4 years old.
So we want to bring in our next guest, who was diagnosed with autism after her 3 children were diagnosed. Jennifer Cook O'Toole is now an autism advocate and author. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for a warm welcome to Philly.
Well, it's kind of a welcome home a little bit because you're from Jersey, North Jersey.
North Jersey. I've been in Charlotte, North Carolina for 21 years now. So, it was when I was 21 that I moved there. So it was like 3 days ago, But yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. But let's talk about with your story, because I think a lot of people are learning more about autism, and especially the fact that it's Autism Awareness Month. But for you found out as an adult. So many times people do stories about kids and when to diagnose your kids.
Right.
But there are a lot of people who are adults who are just now finding out.
Oh, absolutely. And most people with autism, especially adults, we don't actually know it. I like to use the word identified, and there's a reason for that. Diagnosis sounds so medical, right?
Right.
Whereas identified, you can identify your favorite song. You can identify with a group of people. That's kind of what happens. Most people, if you were over the age of 25, you weren't going to hear the word autism unless it was a classic kind of presenting where you're talking about someone who really has a hard time accessing their words. But for the rest of us, usually see it in your kids first in the apple, or ask B, doesn't fall far from the tree.
And that's what happened to you. I mean, at the age of 35, you were
Yep.
diagnosed,
Right.
but it started with your children.
It did. My eldest is now 16, and she was 7 when she was diagnosed. And that was quite the process, because there really is a difference in the way autism presents in girls and in boys. It's achieving the same ends, but it shows up a little differently. And then my sons afterwards, and with my littlest guy, I often said that if he were neurotypical, I would not have known what to do with him, because by that point, it was the first 2 kids, then me, and then the littlest guy.
Because we talk about that spectrum, and that's exactly what we're seeing with your children. But at
Absolutely.
35, when they approach you, or the doctor comes up and says, "Yeah, this is the case here."
It didn't work that way.
It didn't. How
no,
did it?
I actually had to come in and say, "Hey, I'm seeing all these pieces kind of come together. They make sense to me for a reason, I think, and here's why."
Is it because you asked questions throughout your own life, like something, your path was a little
I never would have identified the word, autism. I went to 2 Ivy League schools. I was in a sorority. I was a cheerleader in college. These are not things you associate necessarily, right, with what stereotypically is understood to be autism. But the reality is I was always stepping in it socially, and that leads to a lot of heartache along the way, as well as particularly with girls and women. It's almost endemic. Eating disorders and abusive relationships, and those were parts of my life for sure.
Wow. And so when you thought about those moments and how you reacted to them, that's kind of what led you. Because I know a lot of times when people talk about Asperger's syndrome, that they think it's something separate. But now we're seeing that might be part of being on the spectrum.
Oh, it is part. It is now. After the DSM, basically the tick box off, was published. I know you've talked about the study in New Jersey. That was actually using the diagnostic tools beforehand that doctors use. Now, in the updated, it's really more centered on what we all share, common experiences, sensory sensitivities, and social challenges and things like that. So, yeah, it's really more about what's alike than different.
It must be difficult to hear what is the norm, because I would imagine it's difficult to know what the norm is.
There is no such, there's no such, if I said to you, you are, this is woman, well, we don't look all that similar. In some ways we do, but in some ways we don't, right? There's no such thing. There are commonalities, absolutely, but there's no one kind of fits all.
So real quick, Jennifer, because this is your 7th book, congratulations, by the way, for the adult, for those watching at home, the adult who feels they went down a similar path and they don't know quite what's up with them, what would you tell them?
I will say this. I have never met an adult, ever, who has heard that identifying factor about themselves and not felt absolute and total relief. Because suddenly the world starts to make sense. Suddenly you start to make sense. And there's great forgiveness of self when you realize you haven't been doing things wrong all along. You've been a perfectly acceptable and wonderful version of yourself. And there are some sneaky tips that you can learn to get along and make the world feel a little bit better for yourself. It's a wonderful experience.
Well, thank you for sharing your experience. And people can actually come out to see you today. There's a luncheon.
I am so excited. Yes, I'm working with the Kinney Center and St. Joseph's University, and they're having their annual fashion show fundraiser, and now Autism and Heals fundraiser. So I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a wonderful day.
Okay, it's at the Roundup Golf Club in Newtown Square. It starts at 11 a.m. I think some tickets are still available.
Very few.
Okay, so get them now if you're trying to go.
Yeah, Kenny does wonderful work, so it's a great organization to support.
Keep up the work yourself. Always great to have you on
Thank
the show.
you
Welcome
so
back to
much.
Jersey, even if it was North Jersey.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer Cook O'Toole. Okay, we're taking a break.
At Temple University, the mumps outbreak continues to spread. 6 weeks into the outbreak, and the number of students infected with mumps at Temple is still going up. The Philadelphia Department of Health is now reporting 146 cases. Even if you were vaccinated as a child, you may still need a booster shot. The next time you pick up the phone, make sure you check who's on the other end. Police are warning of a scam targeting people living and working in Radnor Township. Police say someone calls saying they're with PICO and that a large sum of money is owed for an overdue bill and it must be paid immediately. The person on the other end then threatens the power will be shut off if the money isn't paid. The scammers are extremely specific about how the money should be paid.
They said that we had to go down to CVS and go get Visa gift cards in the amounts of $50 each up to $1,200, and it had to be paid in that exact way, not more, not less.
Officials say this is never how paying a late bill works, and if you're ever asked to pay by gift card, it's a scam. Police say the cards are often untraceable and the scams originate overseas, so it's difficult to get people's money back. All of Major League Baseball is ringing the bell for Philly as the league announces the 2026 All-Star Game will be played here in Philadelphia. That's the year America celebrates its 250th birthday. Whether or not you're a baseball fan, this is big for the city.
I think we're the best at throwing parties. I mean, if last year was any indication, that was the most fun I've ever had in the city.
It's always a place to be. This is the best city in the world. Everyone knows that.
2026 is also the 30th anniversary of the last time the city hosted the All-Star Game, but we've got 7 years to wait. This year, the game will be held in Cleveland. Marvel Comics are coming to Philly. This morning, our Steve Keeley previewed a new exhibit at the Franklin Institute.
If you're a fan of everything Marvel, you're in luck here. You're going to make your way over to the Franklin Institute for a good reason.
Yeah, the reason is there's a new exhibit celebrating decades of the Marvel Universe. We're talking everything from comic books to costumes. You can get up close and personal.
Let's go behind the scenes right now. Steve Keeley.
Yes. It started with a guy drawing
All right, we're here with Ben Saunders, who is so fascinating to talk to and a fascinating person. Used to teach English Lit. Do we even say teach if you're a professor?
I still teach English Lit,
All right.
lecture.
So how did you convince the University of Oregon that you should have a minor in, what do you call it, comics?
Comic studies.
Comic studies.
Yeah, it didn't take really any convincing. I kept waiting for somebody to say no, but nobody ever did. It's very student-driven. If you think about where people, it's a gateway drug to literacy. Comics are a way to encourage people to read. And they're also, I think, these days kind of like the water cooler that popular culture is circling around. So many movies and television shows are based on comics properties. So you're just taking people to the source material.
And this is the Robert Downey Jr. we're looking at, and this was these are real costumes from the movies.
Yes, that's right. These are actually, well, these in particular are props from the movies. So these were used as set dressing in the background for Tony Stark's laboratory, and we wanted to create that sense of being in Tony Stark's laboratory. We have many costumes here that are as worn by the
and there's his briefcase while we're walking over here. All right, now all the Marvel characters are here, and that's what makes this exhibit so exciting for the comic geeks. And that's okay to say comic geeks, right?
I think geeks are cool now, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So these are the Thor costumes, and they're from the movie as well, right?
Yes, that's right. These are from Thor Ragnarok, the third Thor movie.
And was that Liam or Chris Hemsworth that was in that costume?
It was Chris Hemsworth and Kate Blanchett in that costume.
All right, I'm not a big fan, but here's the most fascinating stuff. The original art from the people that, when Stan Marvel came up with the ideas,
right,
they put it to paper and they came up with these. And this is the most fascinating thing for you and the people that are into this.
Yes, I think so, because, I mean, this is where, if you imagine that these ideas that are now, part of everybody's fantasy life, they begin with somebody drawing with a pencil and ink on paper, and we have those original drawings. Here's an example from by Jack Kirby, who designed the original Iron Man armor. From 1963. That's from only the fourth ever appearance of the character.
And this isn't a copy. That was what he put on the paper.
Yeah,
that's original print.
Those are the originals. These are not reprints. These are the objects that somebody toiled over on a drawing board.
Right. And somebody saved these, and they knew they'd be valuable someday to somebody.
Oh, yeah. The collector's market for this material is actually, it's through the roof right now. If I could tell my teenage self anything, it would be go back in time and invest in comic book art.
And you mean through the roof, mean in the millions. All right, let's come back over here. People are familiar with Spider-Man now. This actor, this is like 6 or 8 inches off the ground, so this actor was not a real tall person. Who is this now?
This is Tom Holland's Spider-Man costume from Spider-Man Homecoming.
And this is what I remember, the original Spider-Man cartoon, and you can actually play it here.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'll put it in my microphone there, and you can hear the theme song. And many of us, Philadelphia had this, maybe on Channel 29. I don't know if it was Channel 17 or 29, but I used to watch these cartoons after school as a kid. And that was, you said this was Marvel's first move from comic books into visual art.
This is their sort of first transmedia success. Was these animated cartoons of the 60s, and then there was the Bill Bixby Hulk TV show of the 70s. I wanted to remind people that this movement from comics to other forms of media isn't just something that happened in the 21st century. Marvel were doing this back in the 60s. These actually are animation cells from that cartoon. These are pretty hard to find, and kind of amusing, that one for me. It looks like sort of a dead spider there. But these are actual animation cells used in the production of that first cartoon.
All right, so you're here with this because you're running this exhibit and you're going all around the country with it. You were in Seattle last, and now you're going to Toronto next, but this is here all through the summer, right?
That's right, yes.
And you're expecting this could be the most popular thing ever at the Franklin Institute.
Well, I hope so. I think they're bracing for a lot of people.
And there's a whole lot more here than what we were able to show in this little thing.
Oh, yeah, no, we've got 2 floors worth. If your favorite Marvel character, whoever they are, they will be here. They'll be represented by a costume, by a piece of original art, by a prop, by some extraordinary design work. People's minds will be blown.
All right, well, there you go. Alex Thomas, you cannot ask for anything more when you go to the Franklin Institute to have your mind blown. Ben Saunders, here in America now from his native Britain, all because of comics. And if you see him, he'll explain how that happened as well. But fascinating man, fascinating exhibit. And we were lucky just to show you just barely a fraction of everything they have here.
Wow.
I wish I would have known you can get a minor in comic arts.
Right, I know.
That would have changed everything.
Hey, Steve, really quickly, how long will it be there? The exhibit?
You're here through September, right, Ben?
The show is here through September. I'm just here for the day.
Yeah. Extended hours, though, in April.
Like, I gotta
so you want to
out
get
here
here because They extend the hours because they know there's going to be a mad rush. Yeah. There's a lot of comic geeks. And again, that's a cool thing to say. We're not putting people down. Chris Fox, the other guy that's usually with me, would have paid to be the cameraman on this segment. I don't know how he missed it, but too bad. You're going to have to buy a ticket now.
It's okay to geek out starting tomorrow 9 to 8. Steve, thank you.
Steve.
There's a fight brewing over whether WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange will be extradited to the United States. He was arrested yesterday at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Fox's Chris Wallace has more with Alex and Thomas.
Coming up on 8:42, there's a fight brewing over whether WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange will be extradited to the United States. He was arrested yesterday. We showed you the video on the show at the Ecuadorian embassy in London.
Well, we know Assange faces extradition to the U.S. The Justice Department accusing him of hacking into classified government computers. So now we're watching what happens next. Chris Wallace, anchor of Fox News Sunday. I'm sure you'll be talking about this one.
Well, we will indeed, and it is so interesting because there's quite a debate about Julian Assange. A lot of people think he's a villain who helped spread U.S. classified secrets that endangered our soldiers and intel officials overseas. Other people say he was a journalist and a hero who was providing information on government secrets. But what the government has done very cleverly is that they're not prosecuting him for publishing the secrets, which would raise questions about other newspapers and television news services. They're prosecuting him for breaching, for hacking into the system. Apparently, there was this intelligence or this operative inside the Army, Chelsea Manning, and according to the indictment, again, it's alleged, Assange and WikiLeaks were helping him break into a defense computer to get these hundreds of thousands of documents. So that seems to be the line here, not the publishing of the secrets, but breaking in, helping someone to break into the computers to get the secrets in the first place.
But right now he's in London, and what they're dealing with is failure to surrender to court. Isn't that what they're charging him with there?
Well, yeah, that he violated bail. And so, yes, that's why he's there, but there's going to be a hearing very shortly. But a lot of people say, Alex, that this could take months or even a year while they argue, because he's obviously going to do everything he can, Assange and his lawyers, to fight extradition to the U.S., where there are much more serious charges against him than there are anyplace else.
Yeah, and we know his attorney already branding him now as a journalist, quote unquote. All right,
just trying to put out truthful information.
Fascinating conversation. Fox News Sunday, Chris Wallace, anchor of that show.
That will wrap up today's edition of Fox 29 News Now. We will be back Monday at 10 a.m. Thanks for watching.